Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Everything Kratom, the podcast about anything and everything Kratom. Great to have you with us on this Thursday morning. Hope all of you are doing awesome out there. Look at us doing the video thing all over again here. This is the second time that we've done an episode with the actual visual. For those of you on Spotify, once again, my sincerest apologies that you have to see my ugly face. Everybody else lucked out today. With that in mind, I thought today that we could go over something that someone asked me about yesterday. They sent in a question to my email. Again, anybody can contact me with questions at anythingeverythingkratom@gmail.com. And they asked me, how do I track kratom legislation? And I thought that was a good question. They also asked if the ways that I track it are, like paid models or if they're free to anybody. So today I thought I would go over that because I thought it was a good question. So here we go. Essentially, I use three different ways of tracking kratom laws or proposed laws in the US. The first one that I'm going to share with you is the best, in my opinion. It works so well. It's constantly up to date, and it is called Bill Track 50. And I think that usually when you search it, it will have Bill Track 50 all together. So the word bill, the word track, and then the number 50. And Bill Track 50 is free. You do not need to pay anything to track bills with it. It's a website. It's also an application for iPhone, and I use both. You can search committees, legislators, and bills. And you do, I think you need an account. You didn't used to. Now you have to have an account, but I think that it's just like, an email, a name, something like that, a password. Really not much. They're not asking much. So I have an account with them, and all you do is once you have an account, you just go to their search bills page. And by the way, everything that I talk about in this episode today, I'll have a link to these resources so you can all check them out. One of them is an obvious one, but still wanted to share these with you. So Bill Track 50 is the go-to number one for me. Here's why. Not only can you track bills, and you can track them, you can, when they change, you can get notifications on your phone, stuff like that, but you can see, okay, where in committee is it? Has it crossed over to the Senate? Has the governor signed it? Did they veto it? What was the original text of the bill? What is the updated text of the bill? And what is the proposed changes? It has all of these documents uploaded to it. So you can see the documents, you can see the bills, you can see the original wording, and then after it, goes through a committee, you can see the words crossed out where they, edited it and made amendments. So it's really neat, and you can kind of get a feel for what lawmakers are thinking as they're going through the steps of, producing some sort of legislation dealing with kratom. It helps you get into their mindset, like, oh, that's interesting. They had the age requirement there, and then they upped it a few years, in this committee, and, things like that. I don't know. I'm kind of a nerd, but I enjoy that stuff. So if you're like me, the Bill Track 50 is just great. You can also look at the legislators. You can get their contact information. That's great because not to harass anybody, by the way. I know that's happening a lot around the country right now. I mean that in a positive way. You can get their contact information and then reach out to them and say, here's what I like about kratom, or here's what I don't, or whatever it is that you think. You can get that across to them. And, that's democracy in action, is telling your legislators what you think and hope that they, pass bills accordingly. So I think that's neat. It covers all 50 states, and it covers the US, the federal government as a whole. So really neat resource, free. Again, link is in the description of the podcast. The next one is Kratom Science, and specifically Kratom Science's current events page on their website. Kratom Science is really neat. They have, as I've talked about them in the past, they have a number of resources, not just their podcast, but they have this website where they have information about kratom varieties, what's going on not just in the US but in Europe when it comes to kratom. They've actually, I want to do an episode next week on the European Kratom Alliance, which formed somewhat recently. I had no idea, and I learned about that on Kratom Science's website. So if you go to their website and you go to their menu, you can hit, you go to menu, you hit Kratom Science menu drop down and current events. They have a lot of great updates here, specific updates. Bill Track 50 is good for general state legislation when there's a change, but all the in-betweens, how do you know? That's when this comes into play, I think, and becomes very helpful, because they have postings on here about Pearl River County, Mississippi, and that proposed ban. Different bills introduced in different places. Washington, Kentucky is a recent post of theirs. And then the most recent post for them is February 2022 update on state kratom bills, who's regulating, who's banning. And so they have a bit more detail when it comes to just kind of like the specific counties or just thoughts on what's going on. And it's not quite as robotic as Bill Track 50. Bill Track 50, good for getting those immediate facts and maybe the specific language being considered. But Kratom Science helps break it down. They do a lot of good research, and their current events page, they're constantly updating it. They have at least a post on there a month, I think. So definitely worth using them as a reference. So I've definitely been finding them helpful recently. And then the last resource is kind of an obvious one, but still thought I would mention it. I do check the American Kratom Association as well, and they have a news section. So if you go to their website and then you hit media drop-down menu, you can hit news, and they will periodically post some things. Usually it's every few months. And that's been helpful to see, with regards to where the American Kratom Association is focused. That's helpful for me too. I don't always look at the American Kratom Association's website for the purpose of, myself knowing what's going on in the country with kratom, as much as seeing where's the AKA on the ground, right? Like, where are they focused in the immediate? So that's a helpful resource in that regard. Finally, and this one I'm not putting a link in the description of the episode for this, but just can tell you, once in a while I will check Reddit, and it's not really like that I'm checking Reddit to get specific factual information. People can post whatever they want on Reddit, but in addition to everyone's experiences with kratom on the different subreddits that involve kratom, because there are a number of them, you'll just, it's like hearing it through the grapevine. Like, you will find now and then someone posting something that is like, this thing just happened, and now I'm, thinking we should show up at the State House, or this is this, or this is that, or did you see that this was banned here? And it has, not often, but once in a while, I will find out about some sort of like really important kratom legislation or big move regarding kratom through Reddit, because I just haven't checked any of my source, resources yet. But I'm on Reddit, perusing Reddit and some kratom subreddits of some sort, and then I'll see someone post something, I'll be like, I didn't know that was happening. So Reddit's also a good place if you just want to kind of hear something through the grapevine, or just if you're checking it once in a while, why not scroll through, see if anything major's happened, because if something major has happened, people are probably talking about it. So that's kind of my 2 cents on the resources that I use for tracking bills that have to do with kratom. And they're, it's certainly not the only set of resources that there are, but those are the ones that I'll check in the immediate. If I had to recommend number one, Bill Track 50. Bill Track 50 is just straightforward. You don't even have to type in the bill number. That's the other thing. Or if it's in the House or the Senate, all you have to do is type in the keyword kratom. And you can search by state too if you want to be specific, or if you know what you're looking for. But if you just want a general lay of the land, type in kratom as the keyword, hit search. It'll show you every single bill that mentions the word kratom currently being considered in every state. So that would be my recommendation. So that's all I got for you guys today. Thanks for bearing with me, all of those on Spotify who are actually watching me. And the only other thing I'm going to say is that stay tuned because for the next 3 days, we have some content from E15 Natural Botanicals and their founders answering common questions that are asked and that they get asked at their business about kratom. So they're going to be doing a 3-part podcast series through everything kratom, and you can check that out for the next 3 days. Again, E15 Natural Botanicals answering some very common kratom questions that they come across as business owners. So that's going to do it for us today. Hope everybody's doing well out there. Keep on keeping on. And yeah, see you soon. Bye-bye.